This is Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by a legendary trainer in Jimmy Tibbs here at Origin Gym in Rainham. Jimmy, how you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Glad to hear it. From what Mark was saying a little while ago, you'd kind of drifted away from the gym for a bit, and then you've come back in the last year or so. What was it that brought you back?
Well, what brought me back was I drifted away. Let's start from the beginning. I drifted away because when I finished with BILLY JOE SAUNDERS, I had a few illnesses like prostate cancer come on me and this and that all sorted out. And after that was sorted, it took about a couple of years to sort it, not sort it out, but to contain it, and you live with it. Lots of people have got it, not only me. Anyway, gets on with that, and one or two other things. Had my knees done, and looks like the bionic man. But anyway, I had it all done, and about a couple of years ago, I thought, well, Mark's up that gym. He said, I'll go and have a look, see what it's like. And I come up there, and I like what I saw. And I know Mark's a good trainer anyway, but I was watching him work. It reminded me of myself, actually, and got to know the fighters, and they asked me to be their cut man. So I thought, well, that's fair enough. I don't want to do too much heavy work now at my age. And I've always been a cut man anyway. Before I've worked with lots of fighters, the top fighters, been a cut man through Barry McGuigan and these people. And that's what got me back in here. So I come up here Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, genuinely. I'm up here today because Mark said come up. They're doing a thing for John all day, match room. So I thought I'll pop up there and have a look, see what's happening. But he's got half a dozen good prospects on his shoulders, Mark. And he knows how to work them and take the time with them. And they should come through.
And how do you get involved? Like, what do you do on a day-to-day basis on the days that you're here?
Well, I might... Mark does the training, obviously, and I generally stand there and watch, and he goes, what do you think, Dad? And I'll give him my little bit of opinion. He's generally the same as Mark's, but it might be something a little bit different. But it's generally the same, and I might be able to give him a bit of groundwork. And if Mark goes away for sparring and he can't be in the gym or something, or if he's away abroad working, whoever he's left here, he generally asks me to look after him. That's right.
I'll ask you about Johnny in a minute, but it's interesting what you said there about when Mark goes away, because I know when Daniel Dubois came to the gym, it was only brief, but it was mainly while you were here. Mark was out with Billy Joe, I believe. What did you find about Dubois? Because he's got a big title fight coming up. What was your kind of evaluation of him in the time you worked together?
Well, I didn't work with him about 2 or 3 months, but he was an hard-working fighter, had a good jab, good puncher, but needed more experience at top level, in my opinion, and that's what I thought of him. But he's been going on. They're putting him in for a world title fight. He's very confident about winning, and good luck to him about that. It's very good that he's confident, but he's got a bit of a job on his hands, in my opinion.
I've heard Johnny say before how much of a difference you've made to his development. Why do you think Johnny is the one out of all the fighters in the gym you've kind of gravitated towards, and the one who's benefited the most from your experience?
Well, I'd help all of them if I can, and I do talk to them and that, but I've had sort of time that I've been left alone with John for a time. Get that jab going. I said, get that jab going. You don't have to knock everyone out, and especially in sparring. You want to use them. If you're better than them, use them for sparring to get the rounds out. Get used to doing the rounds. And he listens. Sometimes it works, but Mark told me he had a good spar up there the other day, and he's over the moon, got his jab going, and it's all working well with him. I'm pleased about that. So I've done a little bit for him. Like Mark does most of the training with him, obviously. But
you've been around for a lot of, big ticket sellers, big stars in your time. What do you make of Johnny's kind of celebrity, the whole Bosch thing and the ticket selling and just the general everyone recognising him,
Well, it's a different era in boxing. I mean, years ago when I had them fights like your Nigel Benn, your Barry McGuigans, you had to fight and be at the top, and everyone in boxing knew who you was. But today now everyone who's not in boxing knows who Johnny Fisher is, because it's not because he's a good boxer or he's a bad boxer. It's because of social media. Yeah. And that's what we didn't have that in that day. Not so much of it anyway. And you had to be a good fighter to get like even my last world champ was BILLY JOE SAUNDERS. We had social media then, but even he didn't get what they're getting now. Yeah. He'll probably get more of that now he's retired. I've heard he's coming back through social media, so he'll get more of that. Shut it. Yeah. Sorry. He'll probably get more publicity now on social media through other things. And that's what John, this bosh. Never had that years ago. Which is nothing wrong with it, because everything's changed. I mean, it ain't my cup of tea, but I can't change it. I've got a phone, but I hardly use it. So, but his progress is coming along nice and steady. He's got a good relationship with his trainer, good relationship with his promoters and his managers, and he's a very nice person. He's a gentleman. He's very nice. He's well liked up here.
You mentioned Nigel Benn there, obviously one of many legendary fighters that you've worked with over your years in the sport. His son Connor's had some trials and tribulations recently, still ongoing. Have you spoken to Nigel much across this time, just to see how?
Can you close the door, please?
Yeah, just to see how he's getting on with everything.
No, I've not spoken to Nigel about that, because I think that's a personal thing between Nigel and his family. If he was to talk to me about it, and I could give him some advice, which I don't know if I could, but no, I don't know much about it. I only know what I read in the papers, and I've not spoken to Nigel about it or his son.
You said it's a different era now. Obviously, I don't think in your career you ever worked, you can correct me if I'm wrong, with a female boxer. Mark's had Ebanie Bridges recently and Elle Brook. And there certainly wasn't such a thing as influencer boxing back then either. I remember when I got into the sport there wasn't. So what have you made of that, kind of returning to this gym when they've got female fighters, they've got influencer boxers, which is something completely new? What have you made of those changes?
Well, first of all, in my lifetime, I've said to people I would never, ever train a woman fighter. It's just not my cup of tea. They want to do it, they can do it. But women are not made for it. I couldn't say that publicly. I've said it. I'm not even nothing personal. But when I come up here with Mark and he introduced me to Ellie and Ebony, they was nice girls, nice people, and they'd do a little bit, give me a little bit of groundwork. I remember Ebony when I first met Ebony, she come back from America. She was training with Mark, and I was sitting in the corner over there. And she introduced herself. She knew I was Mark's father, and she said, "I can't move my top half and punch at the same time." And I said to her, "Nor can no one else." I said, "No one can do that, not at the same time." She looked like that. I said, "Not even Sugar Ray Leonard." I said, "You've either got to do that to get out of the way, or you've got to punch. It's best to do that, make an opening, and then punch." Just said that to her. And then gradually, Mark says the same, obviously. He said, "I told her that, Dad." He said the same. But she took notice, and she was good to work with. She worked very hard. Good trainer, sorry. Good trainer. Good trainer, worked very hard. And she won the world title with Mark, and defended it with Mark. And that was very good, I thought.
Now let's talk about some of the fighters who were your cup of tea, some of the legendary champions you've worked with over the years. Who kind of stands out for you now when you look back on it as kind of the happiest memories or the proudest accomplishments?
Well, there's one fighter nobody ever mentions that stands out with me. Chris Pyatt.
Okay.
Good fighter. He won the middleweight title, but he was only a light middleweight. And he boxed Sambo Kalambe in them days. And he was still a good fighter. And I thought, and he wasn't actually 100% fit, not because he didn't train. He had a little scab on his lip, and I thought he won't even pass the doctor. But he got through anyway. But I'm thinking, I always give him a cheer. Even if I think they can't win, I always say, "You're going to win, don't worry about that." And when we got up to the training camp, he's finished all his heavy training, doing his light training. And when we was in the dressing room, I was standing outside. I've done his hands up, got him ready for the fight. Dean Powell was working with me. I said, "Just keep your eye on him for a second, Dean." I said, "I just want to have a little break out here." And as I'm standing outside, Eddie Earn's dad, Barry, he was the promoter then, he promoted that fight. He's French agent, could speak English, come up to me, Jimmy, he said, "How are you doing, lovely?" And he went, "This man who Chris is fighting, oh, Jimmy, want to see the size of him. He deep breathing, this, that." And I went, I can't think of his name, I went, "No more, please don't tell him, don't want to know." Yes, and I went to him, he's big, I've already said this to Chris anyway, "Go in there, hit him where you like. Stay on top of him, do not leave him." And he done that, and 6th or 7th round, Barry come up and captain called, "Jim, he's in front." "Right, you heard that? You're in front, now you stay in front." And then in the 10th round, where he stayed with him and battered him, bell went, he comes walking back to me, and I stopped him, and I turned him around, and I went, look at him. They're dragging him back to the corner. They're dragging him back. He won it on points.
That's brilliant.
And Nigel Benn went to Italy for the fight. They tried to get out of it, and because he was cut, they tried to stop the fight and give it to him. But Barry Hearn again had murders him. They said, we're getting the so-and-so the boxing federation. And he went, you get him now. I'll talk to him. And we won the title there. And Barry McGuinn was a great fighter to work with. He had it all. I had him on his comeback. I mean, he had it all. He was unlucky. He fought Jimmy McDonald. Jimmy McDonald's a good fighter. I had him years ago. He won the European title with me. But Jim came and stopped doing the cut. So he was out. He retired after that, Barry. Billy Joe. Great boxer. Lacked a bit of power, but a great boxer. Very hard to hit. See, well, I won't say too much. All I'll say is a good fighter, and he's making a comeback. If he makes a comeback, he'll have the experience. Because I told him years ago, I read on the social media that he's coming back as a light heavyweight. Well, I told him years ago when he was struggling in middles. I said, you can beat any middleweight in this country, any light heavyweight in this country. You can ask him that. That's the truth. And I would have betted it then, but that was years ago. I haven't seen him for years now.
A slightly tougher question, perhaps, but does anyone stand out as a disappointment, like someone who didn't fulfil their potential? Yeah. Gary Stretch.
Okay. Good fighter, good puncher, but he got in the acting business, and I think that overtook his thing for being a boxer. But I think he could have gone more. He did go on to fight for the middleweight title, but he could have been promoted better than that in a way. He didn't, he just took the fight to get the money. I don't know why he got the middleweight. Actually, Freddie Roach trained me for that fight. I was cut man for that fight, and but I think he could have got a lot better. He was a good fighter, very good fighter.
And just finally, apart from the fighters who trained,
one more world champion I haven't mentioned. I've got to mention him because there was 5. Jason Rowlands.
Oh yeah.
He won the world title against a Russian. Got a split lip first round, but he had that grit in him. He won it on 12 rounds of points, and then he fought Ricky Hatton, and I got in the ring, stopped that fight. But not because Jason was getting beat up or anything like that. I didn't want to see him get hurt. He had a go, but I thought, no, he ain't going to do nothing tonight. And that's the way I was.
And just finally, you've got obviously great fighters here at this gym, but outside of the gym, who have you got your eye on? Who do you think could go far that you've seen in the last few months?
Well, I can't answer that question. I can't answer that question because I don't take a lot of notice of fighters, to be honest with you. I don't know the names. When I see him, I know, he's a good fighter, but I don't take notice of names and that.
Well, anyone that's been in the gym recently for sparring?
Yeah, what's his name? Felix Cash. He's a good fighter. He hasn't been back in for a fortnight or so. I don't know why. I don't ask Mark. Mark's been busy. But as soon as he showed, well, I've seen him fight anyway. Yeah. He's a good fighter. Yeah, I think he wants Mark to train him. So yeah, be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Jimmy, absolute honour. Really appreciate it, mate.
It's a pleasure to talk to you about boxing. Thank you, sir. Thank you. That's it.